And the first thing that I just wanted us to do is to get the secret sauce out of the way. So we're not going to keep you waiting for you to know what's really happening. We're going to get we're going to tell you what the secret sauce to financial independence is. So it's a simple three-step formula. So you have to work on yourself, number one. Secondly, you have to do invest a lot in terms of time. And lastly, it involves a lot of discipline. And we'll go into a lot more details on each of this. But there you have it. The secret sauce is that simple. It's invest in yourself, um, give yourself time, and also um, prepare to have lots of discipline. So to start off, this session is for you. It's as much for you to learn as I'm also learning on this journey. So feel free to get questions. We do have a Q&A box. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to leave any messages or where you would like to understand a bit more in the chat box. And we'll see as much as possible how to get those sorted out. So the thing about it is, in as much as we've talked about the secret sauce, is that the problem with life is that it's not as simple as black and white. So the secret sauce, yes, might have three elements, but then it does take time for you to work on each of them. So the first bit is yourself. And when you think about yourself, um, you have to be very careful with your spending habits. So there's a famous quote by Charles Chaff who says, "It's not your salary that makes you rich, it's your spending habits." So as you're working on yourself, the first thing to focus on is your spending habits. But this is advice that we've had before. It's not the first time that we've had advice, people telling us that we need to save more and spend less. So why is it very hard, in as much as this is advice we've had over and over, and we know intuitively that we should be doing it? Quite simply, it's because we are all human. And being human means that we are prone to mistakes, and it's very easy for us to be tempted. So three things usually happen to us as humans. So number one is your friend does come up with a new car, new watch, new pair of shoes, and it's very easy to be tempted to want to join them and to buy a similar set of shoes, similar car as them, or to compete. The second thing is that everywhere we look, there's always advertising telling us to buy more stuff. So the thing about advertising is that it's geared to help to make us spend more. It's geared to make us feel that we are being left out every time that we are not buying the latest item and spending. And this inherently makes us very easily prone to spending more. And lastly, is that it's very easy for us to spend out of excessively out of what we actually make as income. So there's access to mobile loans, there's credit cards, there's all those things that are available to us for us to spend more. So just recently, about last week on Tuesday, actually, so there was this headline in the Business Daily that basically said that Safaricom was lending about 1 billion shillings daily during the COVID era. And if you think about it, this is an enormous amount of money, meaning it's very easy for us to access credit and to spend more than what we actually earn. But there's also deeper reasons why we end up spending more. So first is that spending money makes us happy, but saving usually does not. And I ask you to disregard the gender choice in this particular image, but of course, this is a feeling we usually feel. Every time you go out shopping, it leaves you with a certain feeling of happiness that you feel like you've achieved and you can be able to access more. But then when you're saving, it's just putting money somewhere and you don't necessarily see what that is doing for you. The thing about saving is that there is a famous quote that says that saving and investment is like watching paint dry. It's not fun. It's like watching grass grow. It's not fun, but at the same time, it does bring a lot of benefits whenever you do achieve your goals. The second thing is that whenever we are saving, the problem is to achieve financial goals takes a long time. So if you think about it, you have to set a goal, you have to make a plan, you have to get to work on the plan, you have to stick to the plan, then you reach the goal, and that's when you achieve it. And usually the goal is 10, 15, 20 years out, and it's very hard for you not to see the end. So it's like I said, it's like watching paint dry or watching grass grow, and it's very boring, and it does take a long time to achieve. Then thirdly is that life always happens. just think about this simple image that we have here about this prisoner who was trying to break out of jail, and he's very happy that he's already made it almost half the way out of jail. And little does he know that he's about to get hit with the biggest bomb in his life, because he's digging into a pit latrine. So of course this would be the mother of all bad days for them, and this happens a lot for us in our lives. We plan, we make all the best of plans, and then life happens. Somebody gets sick. Along the way we make bad decisions that end up rubbishing what we've done over a certain period of time. So important for us to understand these three things. And the best thing we can always do is to be prepared. And for each of these three things, just provided you're prepared, you'll be able to do the right things, and you'll be able not to get hit in the face when things do happen that are not so fun. So the first thing is, when you think about saving not being fun, so where do we find the fun in saving? So first thing is that we have to learn to spend time and not money. And there's a lot of things we can do for cheap. So it's not about always going out to a movie or going out for drinks. You can be able to spend time without necessarily spending money. One thing that you could do is a lot of these activities we've listed here, things that you can do without spending a lot of money. So you can invest your time in learning a new art, whether it's drawing, whether it's doing some art forms, pottery, all those kind of things. They cost much cheaper than a weekend out or buying yourself a new pair of shoes or a new car. A lot of DIY activities also save you money, and the good thing is you can actually make something that makes you a lot happy whenever you achieve it. You can invest your time in appreciating music and embracing movies. They're of course a lot cheaper than spending money going out. You can spend your time investing in writing, riding bikes, drawing, photography, and many other things that you can do that not necessarily spend money, but they spend time. Then the second thing is that you need to remind yourself why you're doing it. So why are you investing, and why are you putting money aside for you to save? Is it that you're trying to achieve a certain goal? Is it that you want to be financially independent? Is it that you want to make the best of your life for yourself or for your children and for your children's children? So you need to remind yourself why you're doing it. And this reminder needs to be a constant one. So if it's every month, every 2 months, you need to be reminding yourself why you're doing it, because that's the only way you'll stick to your goal. Then thirdly, it's important to surround yourself with like-minded people. So there's a famous quote that says that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if you actually look around yourself, you will find that it's very easy for you to get lost based on the type of people you walk around with and the type of friends that you keep with you. So it's important for you to surround yourself with like-minded people and people who understand that you're trying to achieve a certain financial goal, and it's important for you to save and put the money aside for you to achieve that. So this is some good ways for you to be able to find the fun in saving. It's spend time, don't spend money. Remind yourself why you're trying to save, and surround yourself with like-minded individuals. And with this, you'll be able to make fun while saving. And you need to do it constantly so that you keep having that reminder. The second thing is financial goals take time. So how do we prepare for that? And how do we embrace the fact that either way it's going to take time to achieve financial goals? So financial goals is like a journey of 1,000 steps. And it's the first step that actually counts. The first step being that you need to focus on micro goals. So micro goals in this sense means that to save 1,000,000 shillings, it is the first 10,000, the first 1,000, and even the first 10 shilling that counts. So what is that micro goal? So maybe you want to save 1,000,000 shillings over the next 5 years. So you could say, I will do 200,000 every year. But even that is still a big goal. So how do you even bring it to become even a smaller goal? So 200,000 could be 1,000 shilling a day, or could be 30,000 shillings a month. And with that, whenever you focus on that small goal of putting aside, let's say 30 or 10,000 shillings a month, then it's very easy for you to achieve it, because you're not going against that big goal of saving 1,000,000 shillings. You're focusing on the goal of 1,000 shillings or 10 or 20,000 shillings, which is much easier for you to start doing today than focusing on the 1,000,000 shillings, which seems like a big goal and very hard for you to reach. The second thing is always look at the change you've made and not necessarily how far you have to go. So usually in many things in life, you're told always focus on the end goal, and it's the end that matters. But then because every financial goal takes time, and it's a journey that you have to start, and it takes time for you to achieve, it's important for you to always look at the change that you're making. So if you've saved 10,000 shillings, always focus on that and say, I didn't have 10,000 in my savings last month. Now I have 10. So how do I get to the next 10 so that I make it 20? How do I get the next 20 so that I make it 40? And with that, you'll be able to have faith in how far you can go, and you'll not keep focusing on the thing, that the big goal of saving 1,000,000 shillings that seems like a monster and it will take time for you to achieve. Then the last thing is, remember to reward yourself. And here I say this very cautiously about rewarding yourself, because rewarding yourself is very easy for you to take everything that you've saved and say, I'm rewarding myself because I've saved 10,000 shillings, I'm rewarding myself with 9,000 shillings. So you only leave 1,000. Rewarding yourself here is finding small rewards that make you happy, that doesn't necessarily affect your goal, but make you feel that you're achieving something. So you could say to yourself that, if I save 100,000 over the next 1 year, or if I save 100,000 over the next 2 years, then I will reward myself by buying myself a new pair of shoes or a new handbag or new something. Whatever it is, that reward needs to be small, that it doesn't affect your long-term goal, but it also needs to be precious for you to feel that you really earned it and you deserve it for achieving that micro goal. So for you to finish that aspect of understanding that financial goals do take time, the 3 steps is to, number 1, focus on micro goals. So divide up that big goal into small goals that are easier to achieve. Number 2, look at the change that you've made so far, and that will give you faith for how far you can go. And then thirdly, find very cautious and very small ways for you to reward yourself, and this will enable you to be able to have that pride and faith for you to achieve more. So lastly, life always happens. So what happens when we think about life, and that things always happen along the way? So it's very hard for you to plan for everything in life, but you can be able to put aside very small steps for you to be able to be ready when life happens. So the first thing is, you can take out risks, the risks that you have in your life. So here, famously, what you need to do is to take the road that is less traveled. Don't be ashamed for you to make decisions that are very different from what everybody else is doing. And first thing could be simple thing like, say, for example, carrying lunch to the office. Could be a simple thing like not having a car while all your friends and all your people and peers have cars. Could be something like where you decide to live, and all those things. Take the road that is less traveled, and trust me, you will find yourself living a much better life, and it will make it much more easier for you to achieve your financial goals. Then secondly, build an emergency fund. And emergency fund, we'll talk about it a bit more in detail, but there's 2 aspects in an emergency fund. So there's an emergency fund for when things go wrong. So what if your tire burst, in case you have a car? What if your tire burst today? What if, if you don't have a car, what if your shoe today decided for the sole to come off? So where do you find the money for you to do such small things that usually come as an emergency? Or somebody could get sick and they urgently need 10, 15, whatever number of shillings that they need for them. So build that emergency fund, and it will help you. Then there is also a survival account, which sometimes you can call a screw you account. So if say your employer decided to move you to a different town, they decided today we are going to move you to be working in Nakuru, but you're not interested in moving to Nakuru. So do you just take the decision and say, okay, I don't really want to go to Nakuru, but because you've said I have to go, it's okay, I will go? Or do you have something that you can say, actually, I choose not to go, and if it's a must I go, then I can decide not to take this job, and I have 3 to 6 months worth of my expenses for me to be able to make that decision and find a job over time. Then thirdly is to plan for the future. So I give an example here of something that usually comes to many people. So assuming your girlfriend or you just discovered today that you're pregnant, you do have enough time to plan for most of these expenses. The only thing is that we have the habit of waiting till the last minute for us to be able to take that decision. So just using a simple timeline of when you learn that you're pregnant, you have 9 months till your son or daughter is born for you to plan for that birth. And you can plan for diapers within those 9 months. You can plan for new baby clothes. If you think about school, you have about 3 to 4 years to plan for preschool. You have 6 to 7 years to plan for primary school. You have about 14 to 15 to plan for secondary, and so on and so forth. But every time you delay that decision, that time reduces. So if you start planning for primary school, by the time your child is in preschool, then you only have 3 years, because it's the gap between the 3 to 4 years that you would have taken when you learned you were pregnant, and when you actually learned to start making a plan. So the earlier you start, the better. And that's a simple thing about financial goals. If you start earlier, it will be much easier, and it will be a lot more comfortable to plan for it well in advance than waiting for it to happen. And apply the same for other events. If you have a car, tires wear out. If you don't have a car, shoes wear out, or other things do wear out. Your house today, you could have a sink leaking, a lot of things could happen. Health issues also happen. You could be sick today, you cannot go into your business, to your office. All those things happen. And of course, also death also happens. So how do you plan for some of these things? Of course, some of them are harder for you to plan for, because you don't decide when somebody will die or when health issues will happen. But knowing that it's an inevitable, so how do you plan and say, okay, this is for when things do go wrong? And I know as Africans, we find it hard for us to discuss, especially the issues of health and death, because it sounds like we're planning for the worst. But trust me, it's actually planning for the better if you prepare yourself. So to summarize that section, I want to leave you with this good quote by Benjamin Franklin, who said, "Beware of very little expenses, because a small leak will sink a great ship." It's not a big leak that will necessarily sink a big ship. It's even the smallest of leaks that will sink a great ship. So I think